In this week's drive, we join a new champion as he plays with some of his toys, visit the final phoenix of the British motorcycle industry, see the impossible performed by the incredible, and splash around in a big mechanical dolphin. All this and more in this week's Drive. Wrapping up the Premier titles officially, world champions Michael Schumacher and Sebastian Loeb received their trophies at the FIA Awards Gala in Monaco from Prince Albert. Schumacher dominated Formula One again, and his Ferrari teammate Rubens Barrichello was second, while the team won the Constructors' Championship. Loeb and co-driver Daniel Elena from Monaco won the World Rally title for Citroën. A British High Court judge has ruled against Formula One Supremo Bernie Ecclestone in a legal dispute with three banks that could weaken his long-running and vice-like hold on the sport.
Yes, during the meeting we did hear, in fact Bernie told us before it became news that he'd lost the court case. I have to say, and it's probably the right way to look at this, is that Bernie wasn't that concerned about it. I think he certainly gave us an assurance that his governance of the sport is still as strong as ever. And right now, in the sort of dying days of the current Concord Agreement that governs Formula One, I think that's important that we see a bit of stability at the top and that we as teams act in a professional and proper way and concentrate on the running of our businesses and that of the sport of Formula One, and let Bernie sort out the finances. I'm sure the time will come when there is a better distribution to the teams.
The banks acquired their stake in Formula One after the Kirsch media empire collapsed, owing $1.6 billion.
But I certainly, from a personal point of view, did not detect a man who I happen to be sitting next to in the meeting in any way, shape or form worried. He seemed confident, Bernie Ecclestone, that he always is, and he didn't, the body language wasn't somebody who was concerned that the future was going to be anything other than what it is at the moment.
The banks control 75% of the holding company that owns the commercial rights to Formula One. The other 25% is owned by Bambino Holdings, an Ecclestone family trust. Victory for the banks is likely to avert the threat of a rival series.
I think it is. We actually signed today an agreement for the French and British Grand Prix. So as far as the teams and the promoter Bernie Ecclestone are concerned, the commercial rights holder Bernie Ecclestone are concerned, we have signed up for the British and French Grand Prix. Now there is still the issue of the BRDC doing their deal with Bernie Ecclestone. That does need to be done over the next few days. I would sincerely hope for all of Britain, for all of the people that love and want to see a British Grand Prix, that nothing after all this effort gets in the way of that deal going ahead.
Team and track owners met Ecclestone to discuss cost-saving measures and the calendar for next year. The FIA, motorsport's governing body, has approved an unprecedented 19-race calendar for the Formula One World Championship for 2005. Included are the French Grand Prix on July the 3rd and the British Grand Prix a week later. Both races, classics of the Formula One calendar, were threatened after Bernie Ecclestone left them off his provisional list in favour of other races. The Formula One World Championship began at Silverstone in 1950, and Britain has hosted a Grand Prix every year since then. 6 of the 10 teams are based in England, and most are within an hour's drive of the famous track. Ecclestone left off the San Marino, French and British races and presented 16 races which included Bahrain and China, new for 2004, plus Turkey, new for 2005. Formula One teams are contracted for 16 races a year, with additional races being negotiated. The teams ran in 16 races in 2003 and 18 in 2004. They were reluctant to run in 19, but agreed when told it was the British Grand Prix that was threatened. Sao Paulo in Brazil is not only the home of the Brazilian Grand Prix, but also boasts the largest Japanese population outside Japan. After the final race of the season at the nearby Interlagos circuit, BAR driver Takuma Sato joined members of the Latin American media to participate in a crash course in sushi preparation.
I know that Sao Paulo is a huge city, and obviously there is a big Japanese community in here. It's a very unique hotel in Sao Paulo. I'm very impressed. It's very stylish, and I like the way Japanese designer. Well, this afternoon I'm going to make some sushi in the master class.
Under the guidance of Shinji Moroto, one of the experienced sushi masters from the Honda-owned Stanton House Hotel in the UK, Taku and the media were taught the basic concepts and methods of sushi making. Japan's top racing driver proved that he's a dab hand with a knife with a good eye for symmetry and presentation. With the season over, British American Tobacco and Honda have started the process which will see Honda buy 45% of the team, with the possibility that they will eventually own the team entirely. One result of this has been the resignation of team principal Dave Richards, who's left to concentrate on his ProDrive business, which runs the Subaru World Rally team and will oversee Aston Martin's return to sports car racing.
Wow. Today, I think it was fantastic. I never tried making sushi in my life ever, but today we tried it, and Shinji told me how to do it precisely, and I can do it just like this sushi only 10 minutes or sometimes. So this is amazing then.
At the DTM presentation last spring, Matthias Ekström said, "When the young guns appear on the scene, the old foxes will have to watch out." By winning in the Czech Republic, the 26-year-old Swedish Audi Works driver clinched the title in Europe's top touring car series 1 round before the season's finale. He took the title for Audi in the first year of the brand's DTM comeback. As a racing driver, he must stay race fit, and these are his tools, or toys.
No, I think it's really a lifestyle. I mean, to get possibility to train when we don't can drive with our DTM cars every day, to keep the balance, the fitness, and just keeping the concentration. You have to do something. I mean, the gym is working very good if you only want to be physically trained, but to be concentrated and to be motivated to make somehow a competition, I need something which is more real.
Despite his title, the blonde lad from the village of Krulbo has remained true to himself.
Yeah, my main professional goal was to win the toughest touring car championship when I got the chance to prove my skills, and for the moment that's DTM. No, I've never been a single-seater fan, also not Formula One, and my heart have always been more into the World Rally Championship and the rally side than the single-seater side.
His father Bengt and his mother Agneta travel to every race in their huge self-made motorhome, cooking his favourite meals to give their son some home comforts. Porridge for breakfast doesn't exactly match the cool Ekström image. The 1999 Swedish touring car champion doesn't fit the typical image of a racing driver either. No sports car, no flat in Monaco's tax haven, just a neat cottage he shares with his girlfriend Tina Thoma, a Swedish champion rally co-driver and former winner of the Paris-Dakar Rally.
No, I mean, it's never easy, and I started with go-kart when I was 15, very late, and then I stopped my karting career, went to saloon car racing with the Renault 5 Junior Cup, and after this I drove Super Touring, and after Super Touring I went to DTM, so it's not a long way, but it has been tough.
But he's aware that a driver's time at the top can be short and has ideas about life after motor racing.
Yeah, for sure I think about it, because I know it's running very fast, so there will be some type of business within motorsport, or somehow helping young guys for sure, and then maybe running some business with quads, jet skis, karts, motor, yeah, something with engines for sure.
Riding various high-speed vehicles works different muscle groups and keeps his hand-to-eye coordination sharp. And it's fun too. During the off-season, Matthias was able to catch up with another Swedish racing icon, 5-time World Speedway champion Tony Rickardsson. Matthias has received plenty of awards, but recently he was given the Great Golden Badge of the Swedish Royal Automobile Association by Princess Lilian of Sweden. Ekström learned to drive in this BMW with his mother alongside. She never flinched as her son flung that car around the forest roads, although a rally-style roll cage was added fairly soon. Matthias will drive for the Works Skoda rally team in the Rally of Sweden. Hydrogen moved a little closer to being the fuel of the future recently when Shell Oil opened a new fuel station in Washington, D.C. The first hydrogen station for domestic vehicles opened a few miles from the US capital in the community of River Terrace. The demonstration project will service a fleet of 6 fuel cell hydrogen vehicles from General Motors that will operate in the metropolitan Washington area.
We believe that there's a real opportunity here for ourselves as businessmen as this grows in the future, for ourselves as consumers from the attractive fueling and from the experience of driving attractive vehicles, and ourselves as citizens because of the contribution to energy diversity and security, the contributions to the environment. So for me, I was absolutely thrilled. I lived this.
Many car makers have hydrogen-powered prototypes, even production models, but until now there was nowhere to refuel, making hydrogen power rather impractical. But car makers have persisted with it because hydrogen is an environmentally friendly fuel, and there's plenty of it.
What a fuel cell does is it really provides for a lot more freedom in the engineering, freedom in the design of the vehicles. And so what we find is the GM team is very excited about this new propulsion technology. In a sense, it's going to allow them to break the traditional molds of the existing internal combustion engine and really create new and exciting vehicles for our customers.
The fact that one of the world's largest oil companies is selling hydrogen says a lot about where Shell thinks the future is. However, there remains some skepticism about the use of hydrogen as a replacement for oil. How are oil companies going to make it? How much will it cost to refit petrol fueling stations to accommodate hydrogen? Questions that the big corporations are addressing right now, because at the end of the road, there's money in it. Ever since the wheel was invented, mankind has searched for new ways to travel more efficiently. But as our transport technology improves, the world's traffic congestion gets worse, and the highways of California suffer from a bad traffic problem. Now, new technology is making some commuters' lives a little easier.
SigAlert started back in 1998 when my partner and I both had day jobs working at an enterprise software company, and we had commutes. We wanted to know when we were driving home what the traffic was like and how bad it would be, and so we decided to create SigAlert.com.
John Burke and partner Joel Johnson's website displays up-to-the-minute freeway conditions throughout the state of California. The site allows the user to see how fast the freeways are moving and get other valuable information through interactive icons.
Our maps show you the speeds at a glance by looking at the color of the dots. We also show you the severity of the incident by looking at the color of the incident. So a red dot means very slow speeds, and a red incident means a very severe incident. So you can quickly glance at the map to see what the traffic is like.
The two-man team started with very few contacts, and neither of them had any experience in the traffic industry other than sitting in countless jams. Starting from scratch, Joel and John formed relationships with an entire state in the traffic network.
California is data rich. The accident information comes from the CHP database. The CHP officers, they enter the information into their little computers in the cars. The CHP dispatch center puts all of that information into a central database that we have access to.
Along with the California Highway Patrol, information comes from Caltrans, California's Department of Transportation. Information is shared between the three groups and is finally displayed on the SigAlert website.
We have processes that automatically go out to the CHP database and to the Caltrans database to collect new information. That happens in the background. It then processes that information, the raw information on our end, puts it into a format that our web servers understand, and then can redistribute.
SigAlert also has a television feed that news programs pick up and use all over California. The version seen on television is basically the same as on the website, but visually superior. SigAlert has been a great success for the entrepreneurial duo, who plan to expand their services to other cities and states in the future. A large crowd was on hand to see the 18th staging of the Mediterranean Motocross Trophy at Duera near Algiers. The event was held for the second consecutive year on the newly built circuit about 50 kilometers west of the capital, in a country not normally associated with motorsport. The previous running of the event was at Marsa in Tunisia. 22 competitors from both sides of the Mediterranean took part in this race, and a sign of its increasing success was the number of sponsors and advertisers willing to be associated with it. The local federation desperately needs funding from the private sector. Mauritanian riders were taking part in a competition at this level for the first time, and their federation is determined to build up the profile of the sport.
Motorsport is still facing a lot of obstacles. Our society is still very reluctant to view motorsport in a positive manner. However, the Federation of Motorsports in Mauritania is trying to do our best to work for a better future for our sport.
Algeria was a part of the Dakar Rally until the late 80s and gained valuable experience dealing with the logistics of that event. The Dakar Rally now runs through Morocco, but the organisers were hoping that the success of this kind of event will help bring the rally back to the Algerian desert.
First of all, there has been a considerable improvement regarding the circuit, which is now a track of international standard. And as for the organisation of the event, well, as you can see, it has been a perfect day with no problems at all.
The motocross event proved to be a success for the organisers, who learnt from mistakes that were made 12 months ago. However, the Algerians don't just want to get the Dakar Rally back, but are also pushing to be allowed to stage a Formula One Grand Prix. As in the past, in both the 125 and 250cc categories, French riders dominated the podium, but the North African riders gained valuable experience from the event and from exposure to top-class competition. Britain's National Motorcycle Museum has reopened 15 months after it was devastated by a fire that destroyed 80% of the building and hundreds of rare machines. As the fire raged, staff and volunteers rescued exhibits, many of which date back to the dawn of motorcycling.
The worst part or time, other than the fire was bad enough, was to come back the following morning as daybreak was happening and to see the devastation. It was absolutely horrific.
One of Britain's most famous and beloved racing motorcycles, Slippery Sam, won 5 consecutive Isle of Man production TT races from 1971 to 75. The Triumph Streamline is back after being sent to Texas to be restored. The bike, which broke the world motorcycle speed record at 214 miles an hour on the Bonneville Salt Flats in 1965, was restored by the people who had been involved in building it.
Absolutely love it.
Marques like Norton, James and BSA are all back on show thanks to enthusiasts and retired engineers.
They were very historic machines, built in the 60s and 70s and before, and we actually coaxed men to come out of retirement to rebuild them who built them in the first place.
So far, 90 of the damaged bikes are back on display after being expertly restored, while some of the exhibits were replaced, those restoring them saying it's been a tough challenge.
Parts are getting more and more difficult to get for the earlier machines, and we have to scale the country, second-hand shops, put adverts in the local papers to try and locate as much as we can.
Prior to the fire, the museum had more than 800 motorbikes in 5 halls, and around half were damaged in the fire. It's hoped that another 300 bikes will be restored by the museum, which has become the international centre for preserving the historic, the quirky and the ordinary bikes that Britain produced during the golden years of its motorcycle industry. Almost 30,000 people gathered to watch some of the world's top riders participate at the Supercross Freestyle Jump Contest, a breathtaking display of motorcycle control. The sky, or at least the roof of the stadium, is the limit for these flying aces. Excitement was high on both the Friday and Saturday nights as some of the world's top riders performed breathtaking aerial stunts. The riders gave spectacular shows of motorcycle control that kept the crowd enthralled. Typical of stadium stunt competitions, run-up and landing space was tight, but that didn't slow the competitors down one bit. Stunts with names like Superman, Indian Air, Shaolin, Cliffhanger and Heart Attack were performed, each gravity-defying jump more daring than the last, but none equaled those of the Swiss freestyler Mathieu Ribot. American rider Mike Jones was the evening's top showman, landing side saddle and then hamming a gentle fall, much to the delight of the enthusiastic crowd. His next stunt was to jump and land without holding the bars of his bike. Look, Ma, no hands. Another trick completed successfully with just the lack of space catching him out. Then a burnout to build up some extra atmosphere. Mathieu Ribot performed the famous backflip, a stomach-churning loop-the-loop manoeuvre that only a few riders in the world can achieve, let alone in the tight confines of a small stadium like this. The high-flying Swiss, who spent more time in the air than on the ground, won the votes of the crowd and became the winner of the evening, his second consecutive freestyle victory. The trick involves flying high off a ramp that's so steep it's almost vertical, flipping the bike backwards over your own head and then bringing it all the way around and down, wheels first, to the ground. However, top American rider Mike Metzger, famous for his backflips, crashed as he was trying to perform his first stunt. He over-rotated on a knack-knack backflip and landed on top of the motorcycle. It was thought the bike's handlebar perforated his abdomen, but in fact the foot peg caught him in the groin and he had to be taken to the Geneva University Hospital, where he underwent an operation and was later transferred to the US, where he will recuperate for 3 to 6 months. In his absence, though, the show went on. It looks like a dolphin and acts like a dolphin, but makes a lot more noise. This one-of-a-kind 4.4-metre fiberglass and Kevlar submersible was modelled on the world's favourite aquatic mammal. It uses a powerful petrol engine and 5 control surfaces to perform barrel rolls, leaps and dives. The bionic dolphin can do about 25 kilometres an hour underwater for up to 15 seconds before the engine is starved of oxygen, and can reach almost 50 kilometres an hour on the surface. It's taken $100,000 and 3 years of dedicated tinkering by New Zealander Rob Innes and his American business partner Dan Piazza in their California garage.
It is powered by a Yamaha Wave Runner engine with 110 horse. It's a 2-stroke engine. Runs through a velvet drive transmission with a 2-to-1 gear reduction. You following this?
We have the wings here that operate the controls for it rolling. The canopy here is made from an F-16, came from an F-16, and it's operated with latch levers like this.
The craft has already been discovered by Hollywood. It appears in an Austin Powers film.
I love that. That was so fun.
The craft's makers believe it will have industrial, research and environmental uses, as well as being great fun, of course. So whether you like cutting the fine line in fish or water, or are just trying to get home so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.